Hello and welcome to Shooting the Ish. Hello everybody, and welcome to Shooting the Ish. This is Chris, joined alongside with Brian and George.
Well, hello.
And today we're going to shoot the ish on, what do we see? All Is Lost with Robert Redford. Let's get into that first. Brian, did you see this?
That was in select cities, and I'm far and away from this city, unfortunately.
You live in New York, bro. It's going to be one of the select cities.
Unfortunately.
New York is one of the selected cities always. New York and Los Angeles are two of the most selected cities for movies, Brian.
Anyway, did you see it, George?
No excuse.
Yeah, it was basically Robert Redford doing a better version of Castaway, but, you know, that it would, him being an older man, I guess it got selected cities.
No, it was very good.
We've had a string of really good movies.
Yeah. Judging from what I was reading about it, I was getting a vibe or feel like an Old Man and the Sea type of vibe. If you ever seen that film, which is over close to 60 years old, it stars Spencer Tracy in a Hemingway piece. You know,
yeah.
No,
where he's
Brian, if movies had just old school pianos being played over a silent movie, would you go see it? Would you go see the movie more?
Yeah, I would go see it. I have no, I don't discriminate in terms of.
Okay. Well, basically, this was Robert Redford alone with almost no dialogue for over 90 minutes, probably like an hour and 50 minutes.
Oh, really?
It was like 1:45, I think, the running time.
And this is also, people who out there are cinema or film fans, this was a perfect film. Now, I'm not saying it's my favorite film. I'm not saying it's the best movie in terms of what I like. I'm not even saying it's exciting. There were times where I was, just because I had a long day, was dozing off a little. But this movie is critic-proof, bulletproof, perfect cinema, perfect filmmaking.
Right.
100%, 5 out of 5. No reason to even take a point of a percent away. This is a perfect movie.
Right. No flaws or anything. No flaws and nothing.
I can't say. I can't. It's so flawless that we might as well just go through what the movie was about.
Uh-huh.
I don't know what else to say. I mean, they had him as an old guy, which maybe, definitely hurt the box office, but he's a great actor. And the reason they did that, I think, was good because he had a struggle just doing regular things like getting up and down the ladder. So when the shit hit the fan and, his boat started sinking and a storm came, that just added to the struggle, a character struggling against his situation.
Right.
And
So did his character take quite a beating during his struggle with nature?
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
The movie starts with him waking up and realizing that he's in the middle of the Indian Ocean. He's drifting on his little sailboat, and he has hit a, one of those big metal crates that are carried around on ships that hold goods. Like a big locker, storage locker. 25-foot long locker.
A container.
A container. A metal container is floating in the ocean and has pierced his boat. And his boat is now filled up with water. So in the first day or two, he has to just empty out, clean up the boat, repair it. He's in the middle of the ocean.
Right.
Now he goes off to try to set sail because all his equipment is damaged, so no more motors. Nothing like that. He's purely sailing. And he's doing okay for what it is, but now he has to learn about trade winds and all that sort of stuff and try to sail without any electronics back to land somewhere. But the only problem is multiple storms now approach, and his side of his boat is only held together by glue.
Ooh, that can't be good.
So, he's an older guy. Just, basic things take him a little bit longer, like pulling rope and stuff like that. But he's smart. He's very resourceful. He uses all his resources perfectly. He's brave. But when his boat starts getting ripped to shreds, he now has to enter a lifeboat. So the whole film is like a metaphor for death. It's like no matter what he does to prepare this boat for the worst, something nature-wise is going to come down and knock it to shreds.
Right. Now, did the Redford character have a narration by any chance?
No.
Only
Really?
in the beginning of the movie, the opening.
For 1 minute.
Oh.
Yeah, for 1 minute, it basically says like the last thing he wrote in his book. Before it was like an all is lost sort of moment, hence the title.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the only reason why I asked it was because like from what I was getting, it reminded me of that Spencer Tracy film, Old Man in the Sea, and in that film, he's battling with the forces of nature while he's trying to capture this big swordfish, and during that time, he's narrating, his experience, and also they're doing flashbacks to scenes when he was on land.
This was so much less than that because there was no ambition for him to do anything but survive. There was no other character. There was no flashbacks. There was no narration. It was just Robert Redford selling his ass off and acting his ass off in a boat that was a lot of times flooded. He was walking around a flooded boat, which was a great visual.
There's maybe, I'm on the IMDb page, and this seems very interesting to me. I'm looking up cast and crew. There's maybe 150 to 200 people involved in this production. Only one person on screen.
There was never even a second person. There was one person kind of coming through on the radio at some point, but you couldn't make out what they were saying. This was, let's put it this way, it was more of a one-man show than, Gravity was like a two-man show, but it was more than that. It was more than Castaway because there was much less visually to look at. And he didn't have an imaginary friend. And it was less than I Am Legend because they had all those CGI, what were they, zombies or vampires?
They're supposed to be vampires, but it looked ridiculous.
Yeah, it was silly.
I never seen that film, nor do I intend on seeing it.
Really? It's worth watching. It's like another version of iRobot.
No,
that's definitely self.
It's a fun action movie.
Well, George, you were saying that this is kind of like, this in Gravity, some people had come out of the woodwork and say, oh yeah, but there wasn't character development in this movie, and I'm offended. It's like, shut up.
That's what I'm waiting for someone to say about this. Is, there's no background on our character. There doesn't need to be. It's him in a boat, and he's trying to survive.
Right.
That's it.
But yeah, for the most, good cinema is really about the experience.
Right.
Exactly.
This is exactly what that was. You felt like you were there with him. He was struggling at every moment.
Right.
And sometimes it was a bit heart wrenching.
Now, do you feel like there's an Oscar nod, in the future?
Yeah, for sure. This was a perfect movie. I'm not gonna say it was the best movie I saw all year. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be called the best movie of the year. But in terms of filmmaking and cinema, start to finish, perfect film.
Oh.
Like what's his name from Simpsons would say. I don't even think the critic, that fat comic book guy from Simpsons, could criticize this.
It was a near perfect film.
But it was much about death and it was perfect cast as an old man. Because you could make it you can make the boat a metaphor for life. You can make it a metaphor for the human body. You could make it a metaphor for lungs. It's filling up. It's falling to shreds. You could only patch it so much before it's all over.
Right.
And it's very much about how you prepare really deems how long you'll last.
Right. Now, did he direct this film, or he just acting in it? Redford.
No, I don't know the director.
The director was J.C. Chandor. I think his name is pronounced.
Okay. No, it's interesting that Redford would do something like that because the dude's like nearing 80, if I'm not mistaken. So
is he that old?
Yeah, he's up there in age, pal.
You could see, he was an older man. You could see that based on his muscles, or it took him longer to pull the rope, and it wasn't that the will wasn't there. It was just he had limited physical range. So pulling as hard as he could, was different than a 20-year-old pulling rope as hard as they could. There was a couple, if you could criticize anything, there was a couple moments where the boat was getting flipped around by the water, and there were certain doors and windows that were open in the boat, so you could view those as continuity errors in a way, but in a way, because that was necessary to the story, you could say, well, why wasn't the boat getting filled up with more water at those moments?
Gotcha.
That's true, yeah.
That was about it, but eventually the boat did get ripped to complete shreds, and he got put in a lifeboat where he had to kind of survive with a fishing line and this water condensation system that somehow turned his salt water into water.
Oh, okay.
also, they had these beautiful shots once he got into the lifeboat, showing the bottom of the sea and showing the from upwards, some underwater photography showing like fish and other wildlife floating around under his boat, basically showing that life is beautiful, but nature will eat you up and does not care about you.
Gotcha.
And at this point, the ocean just views you as a big fat seal or something laying at the top of it. So it was kind of tough. And whenever you thought like this can't get any worse, something got much worse.
Yeah, he just, one thing after another just kept happening to him, and he was very stoic and just kept calm and realized he was in that situation and he needed to handle it.
Yeah.
So basically, he went the anti-Tom Hanks route. Basically, he was just very calm, cool, collected in that type of situation.
Oh yeah, it was completely logical choices, logical survival choices.
Right.
There was a couple moments where he broke down and like kind of cried or screamed out the F word, but it wasn't like he was there for years where he had to develop an imaginary friend or anything like that. Right.
Okay.
It was very interesting that his boat got pierced by a container that fell off a ship.
Right.
And then as there was, I'm not going to give too much away, but there was a first ship that passed him that he was shooting flares out, and the ship just kept moving. So it was like business does not care about you. But then there was also moments where he was using tools that he didn't need anymore and then just threw them, basically littered his own tools into the ocean. So it wasn't being too judgmental, but it was kind of like, this is life, and you didn't need any audio and you didn't need to speak any language to understand what this was showing. The sound was kind of just like ethereal effects, but it was beautiful, and the whole film was beautiful. The whole movie was kind of like the first act of WALL-E, how there was like one character, not too much talking, beautiful shots, beautiful music, sort of thing.
Right. Yeah, I always equated WALL-E with like, what if like Charlie Chaplin made a Disney film? I could see it being WALL-E being the closest thing to like, say, a modern revamped version of, say, Modern Times, if you will. If anyone's ever seen that, check it out.
You know? Yeah, it's got a pulse and a heartbeat, even though it is entertaining and visually impressive.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was what it was. Obviously, it's not going to make a lot of money. It's not going to, but it will be probably noticed by someone in the Oscars.
Right, and if not the Oscars, then maybe BAFTAs will definitely, or whatever. I mean, there's so many award ceremonies nowadays that it'll eventually be noticed. So, I mean, kudos to Redford for taking on such a role.
Yeah, for real, the best acting performance.
Yeah, it was really great.
Yeah, I guess it is interesting too with Redford. There's a person who came up and has been acting for so long that he really had to change his style to where we're now at a completely realism point of filmmaking.
Yeah, there's the minimalism is now far more pronounced than ever.
You could see traces of like, there was one or two times he was, maybe for a split second, you're like, oh right, he's an actor, and that was a little bit of an over-the-top thing, but it was so split-second that you can't even really judge. You'd be, again, like with Gravity, you'd be nitpicking to try to pick this thing apart.
To be honest with you, actually, like, if you followed his career over the years, he's always been a minimalist in his, if you look at his filmography. He's not an over-the-top actor. He's always been, like, somewhat stoic, and he's like let his charm basically do the work. And he's such an iconic figure that his that status alone will help carry the film for the most part.
What is that's true. What is the best Robert Redford movie to watch if someone hasn't watched any of them?
I mean, in terms of like what I've seen and what I've liked from him, I would say The Natural. In terms of like, just getting just classic Redford, him at his best, and why he's such a great actor, and also mainly, most importantly, a great movie star, the past 30 years.
Right.
He's been in a ton of great movies. With one of my favorites was The Last Castle with the late great James Gandolfini.
I was just gonna bring that shit up because I mean, because in terms of like physicality, when you were talking about him pulling the rope, it reminded me of that scene where he's like, taking the stones and he's taking it from point A to point B. And that dude, now remember, he was like, I think he was like in his late 60s then. He was ripped for his age. I was like, it's pretty impressive, for him to do that. So, I mean, and I actually did like that film also. That's another, film to watch, if you want to, understand Redford and his style and juxtapose it with, different styles like Gandolfini and Delroy Lindo, who's also in that film. And that's just a great cast, in and of itself.
He still is responsible for being in what many consider the best Great Gatsby movie.
Great best version, yeah.
Yeah, I guess the new one is considered being closer to the book, but the old one is still like the best one.
Yeah, and another great one is The Clearing with Willem Dafoe. That movie is awesome.
Oh yeah.
And that came out in 2004.
Yes.
He
did another one. What was it? A Beautiful Life or A Simple Life with was it Morgan Freeman and Jennifer Lopez or something like that? He did another.
I don't remember it exactly.
If you can pull it up, I'm not currently on IMDb, but
An Unfinished Life.
An unfinished life, yeah.
Well, I guess to any critics of the All Is Lost in terms of did his character develop, it was kind of he played it so straight-laced that you could assume things by looking around the cabin. Like you were like, oh, is he a widower? He was wearing a hat that could have been a woman's hat. He definitely had a lot of books on the wall. Like you're kind of assuming things. It was kind of interesting that your mind was filling in the blanks.
Right. You know what it feels like? It actually reminds me of this quote from John Landis when he was talking about, Michael Myers. And I know this is furthest away from what we're talking about now, but the beauty of Halloween, for instance, and in a sense how plain that mask is, that William Shatner mask, is that it's so plain that you as the audience can project whatever it was that he was thinking or feeling at that moment for the most part.
Absolutely.
That
one
was
of the greatest horror films of all time, in my opinion, the original Halloween. Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. But I'm just saying in terms of how simple, the characters are, in terms of their appearance and in terms of their facial.
Also, if you have a horror movie where you don't show the kills, those are sometimes a lot more scary than those gory movies that show all the killing.
That's why I have, the last gory film that I saw recently was it Flight of the Living Dead, and I tried to get into it. I really did. I really tried my damnedest. Yeah. But I mean, it serves its purpose, for the audience or the demographic that craves that sort of gore and all that. But,
last night. I turned on this thing called it was being offered for free on Xbox. It was called Detention of the Dead. I got about 2 minutes into it. It was so bad.
Yeah.
I think I might have played the whole movie might have played while I was doing chores around the house. I just kind of I couldn't even pick up on the movie from it playing in the background. I was so done with it. I guess it's really easy to make bad, gory, cheap cinema, but something like this, which is a gamble. I mean, it could be seen as boring to have one guy on a boat, but they did a great job with it.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Okay, you know what? Let's keep the tone going of life and death sort of thing. And I was actually watching a lot of videos on reincarnation. Do you guys have any preconceptions about reincarnation?
Well, I have no intentions of dying and becoming a bug. But then again, that's life, It just throws you these curveballs.
Yeah, I don't know if you could die and become something higher. You might go the lower route.
Yeah, more like a slug.
I ain't doing shit, but yeah. Oh, thanks.
A dung beetle.
What is? Oh, this is some pretty soft music. If I died and reincarnated, what is this?
That's LaRue. I think that's the singer's name, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, Brian's correct.
If I were to die and be reincarnated, I wouldn't mind coming back as a dog. They seem very happy all the time.
Well, woof. Good for you.
What would you want to come back as?
options are unlimited?
Yeah, unlimited option. What?
Unlimited, pal.
Myself.
What?
I want to come back as myself.
That's
another
the
chance.
second time I've actually heard somebody say that. The first
Really?
time I heard that, I was watching a Laurel and Hardy film where Stan tells Ali that he wants to come back as himself. Now, bear in mind, Hardy basically said he wanted to come back as a horse. And later on in the film, they get into a plane crash where Oliver dies.
Mm-hmm.
And yet Stan somehow survives. And, like, flash forward afterwards, you know, somebody's calling Stan, and Stan sees Ollie with his, like, you know, bowler hat and Nazi mustache in the form of a horse. And, you know, but I just thought that was funny that you would say that, George. So.
Yeah, that is interesting because you're still alive. You could make a chance to, you could technically start over whatever you wanted to do it right now.
Yeah, I would definitely come back as myself. And, you know, every misstep that I've taken, which I continue to take, I wouldn't.
Yeah, but that would also that would be like a dimensional. That wouldn't be exactly reincarnation. Like, assuming that time always moves forward, what would you come back as? You can't come back as something from the past.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying in the past, but let's say I would come back. Yeah, would you, if you come back as yourself and you're not in the past, would you, you know, every situation would be different. So
right.
If you're as dumb as you might consider yourself for doing certain things, then you would probably be repeating dumb things in different situations.
Okay, well, you know what? There is actually some credence to what you're saying because this is kind of what basically what happens is I was on YouTube. And you know how sometimes you'd be clicking around on YouTube and then you say, here, once you start reading comments from people saying, oh, I'm in that weird section of YouTube again. You know, you were searching for too long or clicking on too many links that link to other things. Anyway, I got into this reincarnation videos. And what you're saying is basically what the videos were saying is that people were born and that from the time they were able to speak, they started saying like, oh, this is not my house. You are not my parents. I used to live here. This is my name. This is my wife.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there was a bunch. There was one where the guy who, when he was a little kid, kept talking about fighter pilots and kept talking about the platoon he was in and a name of the guy who was in the platoon. And the parents are like, there was no way this kid could know this. And sure enough, when they went back, they found the name of a guy who was in that platoon of fighter pilots.
Wow, that's insane.
There's also one of the craziest examples was there was a guy. Oh, no, excuse me. There was a boy who was born in Scotland, but he was born in like a popular city like Glasgow or one of these. Now, he kept saying, this is not my home. I used to live in a white house on an island. The island was called this. It's in northern Scotland, and this was my family name. Sure enough, they went to the island, they found the white house, and yes, that was the family name.
That's crazy.
Was he familiar with Groundskeeper Willie?
No, I don't. I don't know if. Moving on. There was also now. There's certain inaccuracies. There was, for instance, he was able to say the family name, but he wasn't based on the information they gave. He wasn't exactly fitting the tone of like anyone in the family. Like the information he gave. Sometimes the information was a little like crooked. Like he was like, oh, my father died, but they couldn't figure out anyone in the family whose father died, but he did describe the dog and the gate of the house that led to the ocean, and sure enough, they had a dog and there was a gate that led to the ocean right there.
That's insane.
Interesting.
That has all the makings of a dramatic piece, that's for sure.
Right. They went to, they actually found someone who was surviving that he must have grown up with if this was, you know, saying this was all true.
Yeah, George, you could pull it off.
I'm going to copyright this story. I don't know if I could play a child, but I can try.
Who said you had to play a child? It could be anyone.
Well, they actually tracked down a family member, too. Some of these cases, they'll track down, like, a family member. For instance, there's one picture of a boy in, I believe it's India or somewhere around that region, where they show a picture of a boy holding hands with a grown woman, and they say he found his former wife from a past life.
Oh, didn't that movie come out like that with Nicole Kidman a little while ago?
Yeah. Beloved or something like that, or I forgot what it was called.
Right, where she fell in love with a kid that was supposedly reincarnated with her former husband's soul or something like that, right? And they connected. Yeah. There was a movie about that. We should make another one.
Well, it does raise some interesting questions.
Certainly, version. No, I'm kidding.
Wow. Certainly, there is the certainly there is the issue of West versus East, and that Eastern thought is more receptive to theories of reincarnation, and as a result, the kids who from a young age claim that they were reincarnated in the East remember more details, specific details, than the ones in the West. Now, is that true or not? Who knows? Or is any of this true or not? Who knows?
No idea. But if I had to choose, I guess, something else to be reincarnated as, it would have to be an animal or a mammal, correct? Not like a car, like Canby T1000, that come back as a knife.
I think you have to be adamant in some way.
You have to be a carbon-based life form, unfortunately.
That's a good question. A lion.
Well, lion. I would like to do some sort of bird or something that could fly. I would like to be able to fly at will.
Now, this equates to like Hinduism and Buddhism for the most part.
Chris would be a penguin.
It doesn't necessarily fuck you. It doesn't necessarily equate to anything. What these documentaries were saying is that you have a soul and the human body's a shell, and you keep coming back until you get it right. And
wow.
Who knows?
I wonder how many tries I'm on right now.
Now it does represent. They said that the amount of time that they think you could come back into an animal or something like that is rare. You usually stay with your species, I suppose. But they do say that
that eventually there's a limit, obviously.
Well, it does raise some interesting questions. Like, for instance, this: if the amount of people on the earth keep multiplying, then how can one soul go into another soul? Because then there's always new souls being created, right? Or, where does all this new energy come from? Do you then maybe then if a population is growing like humans and another population is dying like an endangered species, then one of these souls makes the jump? Because can you then multiply a soul? Like one person who's died, by the time they're reincarnated, the Earth's population has doubled. So would you go into two?
That's true. Chris, would you want to be a bald eagle?
Yeah.
I don't know why I was funny.
Anyway, okay, check out this one, right? There's this guy who lives like down south, or somewhere on the East Coast, but down closer to the south. And he claims he was reincarnated from an old Civil War general.
Really?
Yeah, he's saying that he always felt like a certain feeling going past this thing, and then he went to the Civil War, one of the battlefields, and got a book, but he never looked at the book for years. And he kept getting all these clues that he had a former life and kept remembering this house. So then he looked in the book one day and realized that one of these generals or commanders in the Civil War looked just like him and had his same name.
Really?
And where the Civil War guy died, like let's say he got stabbed through the stomach, that guy had a scar right on his stomach.
Wow.
And he started learning about this Civil War guy, and he realized that the house he kept visioning was this guy's house from the Civil War.
Interesting.
So, yeah, I mean, who knows? Whenever you go to a fortune teller, they're always going to tell you that you're the descendant of some great queen. How can everyone be related to the great pharaoh? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, you're the grandchild of Cleopatra. $50, please. No one's ever going to say, oh yeah, you were a poor schmuck in the French Revolution era.
Yeah, you died of the Black Plague.
But it definitely raises some interesting questions. How could so many people be coming forward with such a similar story? And how could these kids not recognize, or who had not been exposed to such things, be so detailed about this, and then once they visit it, they completely get over the situation, or what?
I don't know. That's interesting. Brian, what would you come back as, Brian?
Just because I feel like this is uncharted territory, I guess of being a great white shark, because they don't switch. They just keep going.
Right. Well,
saying
Well, that's
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
No, because I'm just saying, like, they don't sleep. They just keep going, and they're just machines for the most part.
Great white sharks never sleep.
They don't.
Wow, that's interesting. So they basically just consume more and more food to stay up.
Roughly, yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. I would like to not be able to sleep, but my body crashes. I try from time to time.
The only thing that would suck is that you have hunters that come after their fins, and the fins are.
True. Yeah, but they did say a scientific study was studying sleeping, and they say if you don't sleep, your brain basically degenerates with toxins. So sleeping gets rid of those toxins in the brain. So I wonder how it works with sharks. Obviously, they're not mammals.
Yeah. So Chris, you want to be a dog? I want to be a lion, and Brian wants to be a great white shark. All right, that's interesting.
Yeah, we could do a DreamWorks movie with the three of us.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
Three Stooges animal style.
Right.
But I mean, there are certainly, when I was young, I remember being 10 years old and having false memories, not of a past life, but of the current life. And I think it's because. Yeah, I'm not sure what this was exactly, but I remember when I was young remembering certain things that turned out not to be true. Like, maybe when I was 6, I might have seen something and misinterpreted it and then remembered it completely different. And then by the time I can remember, like, my old house. And when I went back to the old house, some things were the same as I remembered and some things were so completely different. I'm not talking about reincarnation, but even just in this current life, like, memories sometimes get altered or the feeling you had about them, like, is not necessarily the same as fact.
Yeah, that's kids in general. I remember. Yeah. I know remembering things growing up that I thought were a certain way, but they never really were. It's all about how you perceive.
Right. It was like, oh wait, didn't I have an uncle and wasn't he this? And it was like, no, you never did. Like, oh really? Wasn't that Jerry? Like I remember, a bunch of things. Like there's certain things that just do not add up. I even remember when I was little, I thought there was a Ghostbusters 3.
Oh really?
Yeah, I remember when I was little. When you're little and you just see movies and then and I must have seen something that was Ghostbusters related, and then. For the longest time, I thought in my mind there was 3 Ghostbuster movies. But it probably, hearing things third hand, seeing things by clips, remembering things falsely, or stuff like that. I know that's really stupid to bring up in this conversation.
No, it's all right. Now, did you, experience this in your dreams? Was this, in dreams?
No, I think it's when you're a kid, you just the way you're taking in so much information, sometimes they get stored inaccurately because you're new to the world and you're taking in so much and you don't know how to interpret it yet. So sometimes it leads to memories which are not true. Or
the only reason why I ask is because I'm taking in all this information, but there are times when when I'm dreaming and the dreams are so real that when I wake up and I'm like, oh shit, that never happened. I'm quite sure you guys have experienced that.
Vivid dreams.
Yeah, man. So
I'm getting better at knowing them and just enjoying them and going for the ride. But certainly, sometimes you wake up and you're like, "Wow."
Yeah, I just hate when when the dream is so damn good that when you wake up, it's like, "Oh fudge, I can't go back."
Well, it's a double-edged sword. If the dream was really good, the bed sheets would be ruined. So that's something good comes out of that.
Yeah, but we're also not 12 years old.
Oh, you guys! I think I'm frozen at 12 years old and not necessarily reincarnated.
It's not a bad thing.
If you guys want to check out more about reincarnation, there was a guy named Ian Stevenson who you can consider a doctor, a scientist, or a quack, however you look at it. But if you want to learn more, he wrote 20 cases of reincarnation. He wrote a big book and studied people and asked about them.
As opposed to a small book? Yeah, that's
whatever. So Ian Stevenson, he basically researched these people that would come forward with these claims that they were reincarnated or that their kids were just saying things that were quote unquote weird.
Oh, interesting.
And it is kind of interesting how the people search out their old loved ones.
Well, wouldn't you?
There was also cases that said, I was a rich man in this town, but I got strangled in the back of a car. And then they would be like, wow, someone did get murdered in that town.
No, somebody I know went to a psychic recently, and she always had like a fear of being stabbed. And the psychic told her that in a past life she was killed by being stabbed in the chest.
Yeah,
so,
they say that if you drive past a certain thing that remembers you about reminds you of a past life, you always feel weary or deja vu around that thing.
Yeah. I haven't had any deja vu out here in LA, so I guess I wasn't here ever.
I don't think anyone's here in LA. I think everyone's a little gone.
Everyone's floating away.
The world of the lost. This is purgatory. We're waiting to be respawned to a real city.
Wake up in the hospital. Minus $500. 3 stars.
So yeah, I thought it was very interesting. I was also Brian. What were you saying? Something about pyramid schemes?
Well, I stumbled upon a organization that uses a pyramid, and basically what they're trying to do is help people save money on, buying goods.
So I don't understand. You're saying it's a pyramid scheme? Are you also promoting the pyramid scheme to us, or what is this?
Well, it does scream pyramid scheme because they're asking people, or the people who sign up for it, they charge them $90 a month to use their. Yeah, they're charging $90 a month, like, for people to get other people to join, and they get a commission, obviously, for the amount of people that they bring in, and the people that use them, they, get a discount on a variety of goods.
Yeah, there's a ton of these things going around, and I'm surprised that they exist in big cities without being shut down. And some of them exist for a long time with a lot of complaints without being shut down.
I don't think there's anything illegal about it.
Look no further than all the scammy casting agencies in New York,
Right.
But
yeah,
the number one rule with acting is don't hand anyone money.
Right.
But yeah, there's also other things that's like, oh, we'll teach you to be a janitor and then we'll place you with a job. That'll be $300. So now you're taking advantage of someone who has no job and probably by proxy doesn't have the money, and then by proxy can't sue you, and you're giving them bullshit training or telling them, oh, go scrub my floors for a little, and then saying, yeah, I'll find you a job, and then you never do.
Yeah, also, just going back to the previous point about don't hand anyone money in acting, that thought process existed years ago. The game has changed severely now. Obviously, you have to be careful of who you give and who you come in contact with and who you do business with. Or you got to spend money to make money. It's a business just like anything else.
Well, I'm not talking about a class or something like that. I'm talking about, someone saying like, okay, there's a sign-up fee of $100 and, stuff like that. Like, obviously, if you're going to spend money, you're paying for goods or service. But if the service is a sham, then and more often than not, a place that wants money you have to put a red flag to yourself that it is a scam.
Of course. So speaking of scams, what else about this pyramid scheme do you know, Brian?
All I know is that a mutual friend is using it, and apparently she puts on Facebook that she's doing well with it, and that she has other people, signing up for it.
I've seen that too with people from high school that like get involved in these. They all start like talking down to others like, I'm on my grind, I'm doing my business, and if you want to get involved, if you want to jump on, shut the fuck up. What is this?
No,
fuck you.
And I'm seeing that, like in terms of, you have these people who like, they talk, ish, about, us like, being crazy and doing this crazy venture. Well, if we're crazy, then I don't want to be right at this point, something along those lines.
I have no clue what you're saying, Brian, but
yeah, you're rambling, Brian, as per usual.
But it is true that some of these people that get in shape and then they want to tell you how to get in shape, or they're working hard with their business, so they want to tell you what's going on. But you know what? Not everybody is in your fucking situation. Not everybody is like some people have had kids. Some people had kids early. It's not a bad thing. Everyone's got a different life, but these guys think, because I'm doing this, everyone's got to do this, and if they're not, then they don't want success like I want success, and you sound just like a desperate fucking insecure bastard.
Tool.
Some people can make money and have successful and shut their lip.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. And as far as this company is concerned, I actually had a mutual friend of ours, Brian. I don't know if you know him, but Chris, we're familiar with him. A friend from our past approached me several years ago to sort of do the same thing that this company is offering. You enroll in whatever the company is offering. You purchase their products at a discounted rate, but you have to buy it in bulk, usually. And then you sign other people up, and they start buying the products, and then they sign other people up, and that's what forms the so-called pyramid. And then you make a profit off of how many people have signed up through you, and so on and so forth, signing up more people and more people. Yeah. So my argument to him, he had told me he brought these energy drinks and he whipped them on. And I remember we were sitting in my house and we were sitting on my couch, and he whipped out 2 energy drinks and he plopped them on the coffee table, and he cracked one open and he took a chug of it and he threw it back down on the table. And he's like, "Oh, that's delicious." I'm like, "Motherfucker, we're not in a commercial right now."
Hey, I know. Hey, old friend, I know we haven't seen or spoken to each other for years, but I've got some great energy drinks for you.
Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, it's delicious." I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good, whatever. So he was trying to sell me on it. And he's like, "Oh, if you buy 10 deodorants and then you get this much off." And then I'm like, "Well, this is my issue. I buy 1 deodorant at a time." And when I'm done using it, I walk to the store and I buy another one.
I can't believe you actually entertained the conversation that far.
Well, I mean, listen, it was my fault for inviting the guy into my house in the first place. And then once he was in there, I wasn't going to just ignore the guy, so I tried to engage.
The problem with these guys is that, yes, business is personal, but these guys try to make personal business.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm just laughing because it's so.
And most of these people have no business acumen whatsoever, and because they're doing this, they think they're becoming businessmen, business people.
Well, they really sound like Jehovah's Witnesses. Truly, the people who hustle the most at these things do make out okay, but they don't realize it's off the souls and suffering of all the other fuckers.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say it's.
Yeah, if 100 people join, and then one person's very ambitious, but the other 99% of the people didn't do crap with it, then yeah, I mean, in a way, the company made money off the fact that 99% of the people they talked to and gave them money didn't follow up with things.
Right, and to me, the reality is, if you're successful at this, fine, but to me, the success is very fleeting. You know, it's not long term for them.
Yes, and it comes at the cost of manipulating other people around you in your personal life.
Right.
I guess you know what it is. Facebook does the same thing. You advertise to people in your personal life.
Yeah, but you're not scamming them. You know, I hate to use that word.
Right, you're not taking any money from them. It's purely promotional, self-promotion.
Yeah, it's just purely promotional. Whereas, you know, with this, you know, you're trying to convince people to use their goods and services, or use their services to, you know, purchase goods at a discount. And if you can get other people to join, you get a commission and all that kind of stuff. You just got to bust your ass. Suppose that person can't, you know, do it, and yet, you know, the guy that brought you in is thriving off at your expense. You know?
Yeah, and the excuse is always capitalism. The excuse is always, hey, it's a capitalistic country. Right. So yeah, it is, but you know, realize that the reason that some people are poor is that some people are rich. Now, if you didn't even offer those people a service, that's kind of like a scam at that point.
That's true.
And the thing is that, I tried it. It didn't work. I'll be honest with you.
Oh, you tried it. Okay.
Over time, you start developing a reputation that, you know, kind of, you know, follows you. It's like, oh, here he comes, you know, or here she comes, you know, and I just got tired of it for the most part.
Yes. Yeah, of course. And
just all it is, that's all you're going to do is just develop a reputation. Oh, what the hell has this person got to sell me on? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know.
So, yeah, I mean, how would you feel if you walked into a room and like everyone felt like this?
Brian,
can we get you to sing this song one day? Like, can I get you to just say all the words? Not even in a song version, just say all the words of this song and I'll edit it together.
Let's try. You want to give it a shot, Brian? Do you know who you?
No.
The center of attention.
I mean, you could give it.
I want to go that extra mile for you.
I'm trying to figure out where'd you get that voiceover.
What do you think from the show?
Give me more. Give me more. Give me more.
What do you mean, what show? We've done 25 episodes almost. We have enough of your voice, at least maybe in the last 2.
I just want to make sure.
Every time we turn the lights down, go that extra mile.
I tie up women in my basement.
Okay, yeah, real quick. I mean, we could go on and on and on about this and personal experiences, but I mean, at the end of the day, this sort of stuff creates some shady motherfuckers. But and then again, there are real salespeople who, you know what? They will take you for more money than you know the thing is worth. And at the end of the day, there's some weird human psychology that says, you know what? That person deserved the money because they were a great salesman.
Yeah.
You know what?
Weak-willed people all take part in these things. I have no respect for that kind of stuff. The people at the top are obviously more driven to take over. That's why they're there, and in general with most things. But I see no positive thing by being involved in one of these.
Yeah, I mean, it's pros and cons. Some of these might be considered scammy to those that lost out, and some of these truly are just scams, like someone claiming they're going to repave your driveway, painting it black, and then skipping town. Yeah. So, I guess we can't claim anything's a scam if it's not legally proven, but come on, there's certain things out there that we got to watch out for, especially if your personality is a certain way, or you're too gullible. If you're too gullible, you need a dick friend. You need a dick friend to help you out.
Yeah.
And you need to run everything by that person. Like, hey, this person just told me if I give them $100, they'll produce my album. Should I do it? Yeah, do it. Yeah, do it.
Yeah, give it a shot. Give it a shot. Let's see what you got.
Right. Yeah, the dick friend might just be a dick in general, but
hey, can't hurt.
Hey, kid, yeah. Give me your money, kid.
Hey, all they want's $100 and your social security number. Shoot for your dreams.
Yeah, why not?
If they ask for the tracking number of your bank account, don't hesitate.
Well, my former, one of my former, someone I lived with briefly, unfortunately, they got involved in a couple of those things, and it was wrong of the people to take advantage of her, but at the same time, when she was going around town asking everyone if they should do it, and everyone told her no, besides the one person that said, yeah, shoot for your dreams, and then she turned around and told all the people that told her no called them haters, then it was like, okay, now I think you deserve to lose some money.
Because she kept looking for that answer.
Yes, it's a play on hope. That's the grimy thing about these people, is that they play on your hope.
Hopes and dreams.
The more hope you have, the more they'll take away.
Sneaky
Which is sad, because you shouldn't have poor people robbing poor people. Everyone out there, get a skill and work. And you make money by working, and that's it.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, do you want...
Call us old-fashioned, but, yeah.
I think I know.
Look, you get a job like Brian, you get a good six-pack.
I think I know who's actually in charge of all these pyramid schemes.
Who is it?
And
No chance. That's what you got.
I think this is the person in charge of all of it.
So,
in case anybody else doesn't know, that's WWE CEO Vince McMahon's theme music.
Vince McMahon holding all this.
Anyway.
You mean to try to tell me that he's not doing well with his film production company?
Of course he is.
Well, when you throw $50 million into something John Cena stars in.
Well, actually, the biggest hit was that Halle Berry film The Call, which they produced.
Yeah, I heard that was
yeah, that's true. I didn't see that. Was it any good? I know there's black people in it, so you watched it, Brian.
Yeah, did you see the what was that movie? Did you see
Which one?
What was the movie you told about Eva? You told last. Did you see Baggage Claim?
Hey, did you see the latest piece of shit by Tyler Perry? I saw it.
No, I did not go see the.
Brian, if you were to create your own pyramid scheme, what would it be?
would have to do with film productions.
Oh, so you you learned a lot about those schemes.
You make me sick, Brian.
Hey, I learned from the best or the worst, give or take.
Okay, so what would your scheme be? How would you get me involved as a college-age kid?
Oh,
I'm on my own for the first time. I got a little bit of money in my pocket, very little because I'm working. How could you take that money from me?
Hey, kid, you want to be in movies?
Hey, what did you just drive up in a van to deliver that line?
Yeah. The van it's a black van with tinted windows and spray painted in red on the side of it is rape.
I think it would be like a Cadillac or like something like a town car I would use.
You got to show off.
Just to show off.
Yeah, a Cadillac.
Right. And then basically, I would just, tell the kid, what I would have to do is like name drop like crazy. Like saying, hey, look at who I worked with and all that kind of stuff. And like, pop like a demo reel in front of them with these new iPads. And then basically, see if they'd be interested. The catch would be that they would have to like, so
you would have the Cadillac as the bait.
Exactly. And then like, they would have to pay a certain initiation fee, which I haven't figured out quite as yet. And if they can get, other people to join to like, help me with my latest film production, then I can waive the fee. And,
you have this planned out fairly well, don't you?
Wow, that is pretty smart.
Dude,
you'd be rolling up in your Cadillac.
Yeah, or town car, doesn't matter. Yeah, preferably a town car, just to not hit them with the awesomeness.
Would you have like a family relative driving in the front and call that your driver?
I just like roll up on people. Hey, you want money?
Hey. No money. There you go. This video is scary to me.
I know. I much prefer Ghost Ride the Whip still.
They're very angry. They all have nice cars and nice sunglasses.
I want friendly hip hop men. I only want my hip hop men to be very friendly. Like I want only Al Jolson to be my hip hop man.
Go along with that, or like MC Hammer in his heyday.
Yeah, I mean,
Al Jolson was such a nice black man.
Al Jolson.
Boy, those are some big white lips that motherfucker had. I never seen a black guy with such big white lips. Shit. What kind of lipstick was that? White out.
Nah, he was black. He just had that Michael Jackson skin disease. That Sammy Sosa look he was going for.
Oh my God, Sammy Sosa looks like a white.
It was the re-invitiligo. I forgot what the hell Michael Jackson had, but that disease.
I think Michael Jackson's disease was plastica surgicus. And
Be careful, bro.
Yeah, no.
All right, so everyone out there, no scheming anybody. Speaking of Guffagus and Bacon, Egg, and Cheesicus, that's an inside joke. Sorry, we don't do them a lot. But we have Joy coming in next week. So friend of ours coming in next week. And we're looking forward to that. So thanks, everybody, for listening to the show. Brian, stop scheming people. We know you're doing it in real life.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah, right, okay.
Yeah, I mean, come on, Brian. We all know you're a goddamn trickster.
When we do prove that, we will crush you.
I like to see you try. Okay.
We have had some fist fights, some which I've won, some which you've won.
And we're waiting on a grudge match, like
yeah, we're waiting on grudge match.
Yeah, first you have to come up with an escape plan, and then you'll handle the grudge match.
Yeah.
Ain't no escape from this grudge match.
Well, if you pencil that grudge match in, I might have to find an eraser.
Jesus Christ.
I know.
It'll
The cheese factor is just, kicking in tonight.
Nacho. It's nachos, right? Nachos.
I'm going to be acting like my favorite boxer, Rocky IV.
I think we should terminate this.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening to Shooting the Ish. You can check us out at shootingtheish.com. Download MP3s of the show. You could also listen to us on YouTube, youtube.com/shootingtheish. We're also on iTunes. Go to iTunes and search Shooting the Ish, ISH. We're also on Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff. So check us out, guys. Thank you so much, George and Brian.
Thank you.
And, Brian, we're serious. Do not scam anyone this week.
I heard you the first time, second time, and third time. I appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thanks everybody for listening to the show, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.
Later.
You've been listening to Shooting the Ish.